This is the long-awaited webinar that we all are looking forward to hearing. And welcome again. My name is Toshe Temelkov. I am from Skopje, Macedonia, and I lead a team of 8 people in Macedonia. I'm the national team leader of Leader Impact. I also join in on the global field leadership team that oversees the whole world with Leader Impact. And me and my wife were actually excited to expand Leader Impact into Europe. We're now in 10 countries, existing in 10 countries in Europe, but our numbers need to grow because we have about 35 more countries to go. There's about 45 countries in Europe that we're operating in as an organization. So we're really excited that this is one of our new challenges. As we're joining in, we're going to describe what Leader Impact is. I don't know if some of you might be here for the first time. I'm just going to read some really cool things about Leader Impact. We're a global movement, and we're passionate about 2 things. It's in our name, in our brand. We're passionate about leaders, and we're passionate about impact. And as I speak in a lot of these countries, as I go around and introduce our vision and what we do, I talk about measuring what a leader's life looks like, and we can also measure what his impact looks like. So even though these 2 things are very important, we can also see how they develop in a person's life. We have a network globally of 51 countries located in 350 cities, and our mission is to help leaders have impact by helping them grow professionally, personally, and spiritually. And here are our 4 values. Now, if somebody asks you, what are you all about? I'm sorry, 3 values. We're all about uncommon opportunities. And this is where business happens. Every time somebody meets a new person within Leader Impact, there's some business talk going on. Somebody is making money. We're all about real relationships. Now, when people join a Leader Impact group, they become close friends. And a lot of times they're so close that they even go to vacation together. It's so amazing. But our 3rd value is we are all about changed lives. Now, we don't want a leader to join in Leader Impact and stay at the same level. We want them to keep growing, continue developing. And this is where we use this phrase, iron sharpens iron. Leaders sharpen each other. The way to really experience these values is to really join a Leader Impact group. Now, we will emphasize this many times. This is where the true magic happens, where leaders sharpen each other. And at the end of this webinar, we will actually have a taste of a Leader Impact group. A Leader Impact group usually lasts for 1 hour. But at the end of this webinar, we will have a 25 to 30-minute taste of a Leader Impact group. Now, we're doing a webinar in several different countries, and some of those are asking for translation. So if you come from Czech Republic or from Ukraine, you can choose the translation down at the bottom where the little globe is. And this webinar will have 3 parts. So in the first part, we will hear from Mike Zafirovski, our speaker, and we want to hear specifically about his opportunity of how he made an impact in his culture and in his society. Then we will open up for some questions. Now, as we're talking with Mike, you can freely type in some questions in the chat, even in the middle of the interview. If I read something really interesting in the chat, I'm going to ask him. I'm free, no problem. I might even ask you to ask him to turn on your mic and your video. It's a very, very natural webinar with flow, with spontaneity and everything. So, and then at the end, like I mentioned, we will all break into groups, and you could choose the English speaking group. You could also choose the group where you're country representatives are meeting, and so on. So let's introduce the topic. The topic is leadership that makes an impact on culture and society. Now, because this is an interactive webinar, I would like to ask a question, and I'm expecting you to answer this question in the chat. Now, first of all, you probably are excited to see your culture change. I'm assuming that. That's my assumption. But my question is, where are you coming from? So, write your city. What is the most exciting tourist location in your city or in your country or even in a neighboring country that you go to? Now, when I say exciting, that means that you've already been there, you felt great. Tell me some of those places. And now the third thing is, and this is what connects us to the topic, is what are some leadership qualities that a leader should have in order to influence, to make an impact on their culture towards a better future for all the citizens of that country, to feel the blessing, to feel the better life that they can have in their culture. So, okay, let's go with the chat. Let's move on with the third question. What is a character trait or a leadership quality that someone should have in order to make an impact on their culture? Okay, here we go. Accountability. I like that. Vulnerability. Inspirational. Wonderful. Passion to the people, for the people, and the goal. High level of EQ. Wonderful. Care for the people. Wonderful. I like that. If we see some more, maybe we'll read some more of those. But right now, I think is a good time. Humility. Beautiful. Passion. Yes, we already said that. Okay. Right now is a good time to introduce the speaker. And I cannot do right to the introduction for Mike if I say all the things that are in the bio. I think that's all we're going to talk about today. I will just mention briefly some of the achievements that Mike and his family have had on the topic of impacting culture. So welcome to our speaker, Mike Zafirovski, who is the founder, chairman, and the president of the ZAF Group, a family office engaged in operating, investment, and advisory activities. The operating activities include acquiring well-run family business with the intention of owning in perpetuity. Formerly, Mike was an executive advisor to the Blackstone Group until 2021, and he served on the board of directors of Boeing until 2020, and Stericycle and Apria Healthcare until 2022. He led Nortel, Motorola, and other private companies. And the ZAF Family Foundation, established in 2005, activities focused primarily on education, healthcare, faith-based ministries, and economic development. Now, this is the part that is very interesting to me. A native of Macedonia, Mike is a co-founder of Macedonia 2025, an organization dedicated to enhancing the country's economic and democratic development. He established the Zafirovski Executive Development Program, where in partnership with the Kellogg School of Management, Macedonia 2025 is seeking to accelerate development of 100 future CEOs and CXOs in the country. Mike and his wife, Robin, have been married for 39 years, 40 years now.
In another 40 days, yeah, April 9 to 40 years.
Wow, that is amazing. And they have 3 married sons and 7 grandchildren. Woohoo! There's the picture right there.
Pictures, yeah.
Perfect. and all three sons are involved in the Zaf group, which is amazing to me. And some of Mike's hobbies include anything that hanging out with family, but also mentoring, friends, travel, sports. He completed the Kona Ironman triathlon in 2018 and the New York City Marathon in 2021, and is beginning to take golf very seriously. Woo! Now that is an impressive biography, and like I said, if we keep going, that'll be it. But welcome, Mike. It's good to have you. First question, and again, we're going to follow the three topics or three lives of the leader: the personal, professional, and spiritual, and that's how the questions will be asked. So first question, let's start from the beginning. Your first name is very American, Mike, but your last name, Zafirovski, is not. So tell us something about your background. When did you move to the US? Were you born and raised there? Tell us a little bit about your family as well.
Actually, my original name was Mile Zafirovski. Became Mike when I became citizen of the United States. I was born in Skopje, 1953, so many years ago. A small family, my mom, my dad, and my sister. We lived in Debrecen, Broj 2, which is right in the city, in downtown Skopje, probably less than a kilometer, about half a kilometer to the actual center of the city. My mom was 40 when she had me. She had a number of miscarriages before. She was 42 when she had my sister, so call it miracle, very unusual. That's when Yugoslavia was just finishing the brutal 5-year blockade by Russia, because you may know Yugoslavia had broken away from the Warsaw Pact in 1948. After 5 years, Russia figured economics blockades don't work. So when Hungary tried to go independent in 1956, the Russians came with tanks. So anyway, they're just little background. Says miracle number one, that I was born in Skopje. I love Skopje. Maybe we were little propaganda, if you will, the education system. But growing up, I thought Karl Marx was a great philosopher. I was a big fan of Marshal Tito, from actually breaking away from the kingdom, standing up to Germany in World War II. And as a youngster, I was always very drawn to leadership and asking the bigger questions of what is the right way to run a society. I'm not sure what drove me or how, but I was always very impressed with leaders. So, and none of us are perfect, far from it. But even to this day, I'm just so drawn to people that make an impact, they have integrity, and somehow have the gene that always looks for the best. So anyway, as a youngster, I truly believe in that system. And also very proud that Marshal Tito, along with the prime ministers of, I think it was India, Egypt, Ghana, and Indonesia, started a non-aligned movement. So we thought, it's at that time, my life goals were to be a politician. I thought politics was a noble profession. You can actually help people, or to be a soccer player. I mean, I used to daydream winning the goal for Yugoslavia in the World Cup. And we did not have many material goods. Both my grandparents' wealth was confiscated in the nationalization, but I always thought that was the right thing to do. I mean, at that time, I could not imagine for people to have different outcomes. Obviously, as we're going to talk further in the future, nothing is black and white.
Yeah.
But again, if you have loving parents, if you have good schools, Yugoslavia is making good progress relative to Bulgaria, Albania, Czech Republic, Poland, to the Warsaw Pact. So there's a sense of an optimism. I used to climbed to Vodno. Somebody said they'll have Vodno every Sunday. From time I was 6 till 15, winter or summer, we used to love going to the woods, and 5, 10, 15 kids for our grade. So the world turned upside down when we moved to the United States in 1969.
Mm.
My father
And how
had
old
come
were
to
you?
I was 15 and a half.
Wow. Just
My
starting
parents-
high school.
Actually, right, 10th grade. So, I mean, my father had come to the United States in 1966 to visit his sister. She'd been here many decades. When he came back, that's all he talked about. We need to move to the United States. And my faith, I mean, religion was not forbidden in the old Yugoslavia, but it really was not encouraged. It was
Yeah.
quote unquote explained away, opium for the masses. So,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, the reason I'm making that comment, we were praying for the paperwork not to come. I mean, I have my friends, I can, be good in soccer. I thought politics and lawyers was a good profession. We didn't have any money per se, I mean, no one had. But finally, after 3 years, we became quote unquote legal immigrants to the United States.
Mm.
My parents were 55 and we probably had $1,000, so virtually nothing. So the bravery it actually took to leave all your friends and everything else. My parents never learned to speak English. My father, I mean, they never learned how to drive, so they're factory workers. Going to the factories. My sister and I spoke some English, but it's very limited. So we came to the United States on a Thursday night, March or April 1969, and went to a regular high school on a Monday. So talking about shell shock, you think 9/11 movement, Russia is not good, but you're not sure if the United States or the West is any good. So all of a sudden, you get thrown into the environment. So it was quite lonely. I mean, I missed my friends. The United States is a special place. I'm sure from the people here, lots of people have very mixed views on the US, and I appreciate that. But I've been to 120 countries. US is far from being perfect, but I do like the original intent, not perfectly executed, but there's a level of passion to really do the right thing.
Mm.
So after a couple, I mean, I used to tell people I used to write 30, 40 letters a week back home, and I couldn't wait to go home after school to see how many of my friends wrote back. But it was after a couple of years, you start opening your eyes to say, look, maybe Yugoslavia wasn't perfect. Maybe the United States is not as bad as I thought. So you start becoming acclimated. And like most immigrant families, I mean, when they come, after a while, you start pursuing the quote unquote American dream. So anyway, that's a little background on the
Wonderful. Wonderful. Lots of good details that I didn't know, and it's very eye-opening to kind of understand all the emotions and that shock at first when you had to move to the US in the Cleveland area, right?
Yeah, just Brook Park, right out on the west side of Cleveland, 2 miles from Hopkins Airport. Yeah.
Yeah, we love Cleveland every time we come back. My wife is from Ohio, but from the Columbus area.
Yeah.
And we have lots of friends in Cleveland. We love the lake and everything. But let's try to change gears over here. I love hearing more about the personal aspect of your change and moving to the US. But you can continue adding some more details. But now I would like to hear how the professional development started. So you are in the US, you've already finished school and all these things, and you're starting to think, okay, what am I going to do? And how am I going to take care of my family and working here and living here? So tell us a little bit about that. How did you develop your career?
I mean, actually, I was lucky. I mean, people that are successful, I mean, I guess myself many times included, we always think it's us and our hard work and our brains and et cetera, et cetera. But we quite often forget to be in the right place and circumstances. So I really was very fortunate from going to very much of a second or third grade university. Edinburgh State College was fabulous for me, but you do not wish your kids to go there. So though we're very philanthropic, we give to many causes. Nobody gets more money than Edinburgh State College in Pennsylvania just because they were transformational for me. And luckily, I was able to get an interview, some misunderstandings with a General Electric company back in 1975, and I spent 25 years there. So went from a firm believer of communism and socialism to all of a sudden become, I'll call it a defrocked communist. Just a real belief in the free enterprise system, democracy, and very specifically Jack Welch. I only worked for Jack once, my last 2 years with the company, but for whatever reasons, he put me directly in the last 5 jobs. I started in the financial management program, which was the most renowned program within GE. I was a math major in college. And at age 32, when I least expected, they tapped me on the shoulder and they said, we think you can be a CEO of a company. So, me, are you sure you're the right person? So from age 32 until I was 45, whatever, 46, I was the CEO of 5 different GE businesses.
Wow.
Not just to maybe something unplanned. I'll try to just really quickly. It was in, I don't know, probably July or August of 1986. They gave me the heads up, I'll be the CEO of this company. And I was scared to death. And so also you have 2 months to prepare. So it says, well, I'm gonna have a town hall meeting, 400 employees. So I'm there, probably my knees are shaking like this. Well, what do you tell these employees? I don't know, that I was 32, probably I looked like I was 25. And I told them 6 things that says, look, I'm so honored to be your CEO. You probably wonder if I deserve this job. Frankly, I have the same thought, but I'm here. We're as a team. And here's 6 things you can always expect from me. And I know you're discussing your personal, professional, and spiritual development. So I just 1-page document, and I've used it at every single job, Motorola, Nortel, Blackstone. I said, this are the 6 things you can expect from me. Number 1, I will get very close to the customers and to the salespeople. It is very important to have the outside view in, and not only to take them to a soccer game or coffee or dinner, but to truly become their best advisor, to really know their business. To delight customers is number 1. So I spend half my time. You can hold me accountable. Second, I will do everything possible to make this the most positive work environment in the world. And starting with, not are you happy with compensation and benefits only, but do you really feel comfortable that you can fulfill your career ambitions? I said, if you have the values and if you produce the results, I'll be your biggest champion. Now, it was easier to make that commitment at GE. It was 500,000 people, many businesses. But quite often, if you have a great talent, you keep him or her. He says, no, if you can deserve a promotion even outside this business, I'll be your biggest sponsor. Number 3, superior financial results. As I know some of you may get turned off by that comment, but number 1, I will not have my job, but did not produce results.
Exactly.
But also good results allow reinvestment in the business, allow training for your careers. But also it's a very much of a litmus test if you have a successful business.
Yep.
If you do not have a business model, you're not going to survive. I don't know if it's a communism, socialism, or capitalism, but I made a very important comment to say, I know if I come and tell you I want to be the most profitable company in the world, people's eyes are going to glaze, you're going to start falling asleep, but hold me accountable. I will never deviate from 1 and 2. Delight the customers and provide the best work environment. Hold me accountable to that. And if we actually do that, 3 should be an outcome of 1 and 2, as opposed to being a forced edict from headquarters, if you will. 4th one, I said, again, I just made those up. In the 2 months, I had a heads up to go speak with them. Give back to the community. So even back in 1986, they said, to whom much is given, much is expected. So whether it's a United Way, whether it's your cancer, whether that's a diabetes, whether that's Special Olympics, if you want to take some time off, if you want the company to support, obviously it would not be a blank check, but really believe in giving back. And I said from selfish reasons, people that are holistic, make better employees. So that's going to make a great way to attract employees, but also is the right thing to do. Strong communities are great corporate citizens. Number 5 really was competing and winning. So we spend way too much time at work not to be able to be the best. If this becomes too harsh for you, we'll miss you. We'll have a nice goodbye party if necessary. And hopefully your GE experience is going to help you someplace else. But I expect a lot from me. You should expect a lot from me. But for us to be the best, there should be no substitute for really wanting to be the best we can be. So this is not a threat. Hopefully you guys are looking at this as a promise and a commitment as opposed to a threat. And the last one really was every company has leadership values. GE used to be personal energy, energize others, edge, and the 4 is to make the decisions promptly and execute.
Wonderful.
And it's about whatever, if you're a CEO, whatever the values maybe in the company has said is that those values, we're going to hire, we're going to promote, we're going to demote, we're going to recognize people based on if you're living those values.
Wonderful.
So when you have to make a decision, what is the Bible, if you want scripture from the Bible, or if you make this sort of public commitment, when tough times come, and they always do, that's so helpful to have that public commitment which was made to 400 employees. Motorola, when I went there, we had 120,000 employees.
Wow.
But there was exactly the same commitment which we made on day one. It makes the decision making so much easier, but also becomes a process for employees to say, do I want to work for Mike? Do I want to work for people that work for Mike? Is this a culture that's right for me? And that's very fair. Again, one flavor is not good for everybody. But I just want to provide that context.
That is super amazing. You said you were like 32 years old?
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure what was louder, my voice or my knees.
You're shaking.
I was very passionate, and there's no confusion there that this crazy guy really means every word he said.
Wonderful. So this is a good time to move into, we have to take the fast train to the future. We're going to move into the topic that everybody's waiting for. How did Macedonia 2025 start? How did you get involved with Macedonia 2025? Now, this is the topic that really proves or gives us a good example of a leader that moved from their home country to the US and got an amazing development. Like you said, a lot of times it was luck, but I don't believe in luck. Something was cooking over there. So you as a Macedonian businessman, major success in the US, and now you want to do something amazing in your home country. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, random luck, if you will, maybe Jesus, somebody is God sightings, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, 2 real causes, and then obviously if you're interested in impact, one was a phone call from the president of the country. And the second one was I just happened to be very much a random luck in Toronto when the subsequent prime minister was in Toronto. So I'll give you a very quick stories of both of them. And really the message is not what happened, but really for you to look deep inside you. And if you say some things to yourself, to your spouse, to your kids, to your friends, do you really mean them? Or do you simply say things just to feel good about yourself? So the first one, I've been just promoted to be president of Motorola. I was CEO for 2 years for the handset business. Then I think it was July 28th, 2002, 21 years ago, I became president of Motorola. So I'm running between meetings and my secretary is chasing me, says, Mike, you have an important phone call. So I'm late for this meeting. Take a message. I'll call him or her back. I said, no, this is really important call. Says, I can't take it now. No, it's really important. So exasperated, I said, well, who is it? So it was the president of Macedonia. And I started laughing. I thought she was joking. I said, no, it's. I said, well, what's his name? So all of a sudden there's a white lie. You say you're proud Macedonian, you're proud American, and you're 44, 45 years old, and you don't know the name of the president of the country of your birth. So I did take the phone call. It was Boris Zafirovski. God bless him. As you know, he passed in an airplane accident. And his comment was, says, Mike, we're not looking for anything. We're very proud to have a Macedonian born to be president of a Fortune 50 company. We would love for you to be our guest. Tell my staff and me, what does Motorola or General Electric look for to invest? What do you think about internet and Wi-Fi and things of that nature? And as we try to modernize the government, can I call you for private advice? And I said, Mr. President, I was just there 2 months ago. I have no plans to come, but let me think. I came 2 weeks later. I mean, I thought just to have that call and started a 3-year relationship, really was one-on-one, just to help. Motorola provided very much of a below-cost WiMAX solution. So Macedonia actually was the first completely wireless country in Europe. We provided a number of other advices. When he used to give speeches externally, he just says, Mike, take a look at my talk. Is there anything that you think we should think about? So I did see him 3 or 4 times. Unfortunately, he passed, but that really was my view initially, to help privately. Mm. So fast forward, then it became all of a sudden to say, look, you can actually help. Mm. Again, has to be a God sighting. I've not been in Canada in 4 years. And I just happened to be in Canada for a secret meeting with the Nortel board. Last interview. They've been trying to hire me for 6 months. I wasn't sure, so finally I'm in Toronto, all day meetings. And that night, Prime Minister Zafirovski was in Toronto giving a talk to the diaspora. So someone said, well, Mike, somebody knew I was in Toronto, says, Mike, can you come and listen to this talk? Just random event. Mm-hmm. So there's Zafirovski making talks like, Macedonia is moving forward. We love our diaspora. We love your ideas. We love for you to come back. We love for you to invest. Any ideas you have, please tell me. I'll listen, I'll implement. Mm. So after the session was over, John Bitov Sr., God bless him, probably the closest thing to my second father. He whistles to his son John Jr. and me as he's speaking to the Prime Minister. So, Mr. Prime Minister, if you really are serious about getting help in your country, here's 2 guys that can help you. And again, if you have a hero, John Bitov Sr. is a hero. You can look him up, gave so much to so many different communities. So all of a sudden you have a hero, you're a role model. You're about to take the biggest challenge of your life, company that's in deep, deep trouble at Nortel. And somebody's asking you, can you help your country? So there really was the genesis for Macedonia 2025, right before the Great Recession. And probably I've been spending 10% of my time for the last 2009, for the last 16, 17 years, try to do the best I can. Wonderful. To help the country. And the motto is pretty simple, to help build a stronger nation. Mm. We're not elected officials. We realize we can only do so much, but to do everything possible to help the country move forward. Wonderful. And hoping not too long, but that's the background.
Wonderful. I can see a kind of common thread over here that somehow, somewhere, you have this special, what's it called? It's not luck. People like to invite you to do big things, and in order to do that, they have to recognize that in you. And I can only imagine what was going on through your head when the president called you. You were like, "Why me? What on earth?" And then of course,
what's your name again?
yeah. And then of course, you're asking the same questions. Well, okay, now he's gone. Now, is this over? That's it? How is this? I don't like it. I don't want it to be over. So then, as a part of Macedonia 2025, you created this special Kellogg School of Management to train Macedonians in Chicago and give them an opportunity to, like you said, you want them to thrive. You want Macedonia to thrive. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, just really quick thing. This is not a advertisement or promotion, but I've spoken to the Prime Minister of Albania, Croatia, Serbia, many other places to really encourage their diaspora to do the same. We use some good practices from Turkey, from Armenia, from Ireland, from Singapore. But you should look up the websites. We have a fabulous CEO, Nikica. Anyway, you can look her up. She's just dynamite. There's 4 pillars, and I will make this quick. There's 4 pillars for Macedonia 2025. We've got 20 board members, half from Macedonia and half diaspora. I mean, we had a board meeting in Florida a couple of weeks ago, but the 4 strategic pillars are to accelerate growth and competitiveness of local businesses. Secondly, to accelerate leadership development. Third is to build strong partnerships and linkages worldwide. And fourth, to advocate to improve the Macedonian business environment, specifically to really keep fighting corruption. I mean, corruption is a cancer in any society, particularly developing countries. Mm. Some of those programs we run by ourselves, and I'll discuss the Kellogg program in a minute. I mean, other ones we try to influence politicians, academia, chambers of commerce, business leaders. We've had some success, long way to go. Obviously, the region is not in a great shape. Mm. But I believe the organization is respected. They know we're not doing any of this for personal gains. Actually, we contribute money, to pay for the staff in Skopje. And there's 4 or 5 leadership programs for providing scholarships for underprivileged kids for engineering degrees. The John Beto program is there to educate entrepreneurs. In my program, again, this is the 35 people we call the Zafirovski Executive Development Program. And I try to mimic General Electric. If you're a high potential person in a larger company, you ask that person to take a month away from their job and to get great training from some top-notch professors in the world, but also to do a special project for the company they work for. We also ask them to do a special project for Macedonia 2025. So again, the program really is, I think on March 27th, I'm going to interview 15 candidates. I think the top 7 will come to Chicago this year. As you know, Kellogg is one of the top 5 schools in the world, ranked one year, 2, 3. But for all of them, I'll ask them, obviously try to get their background. And the view really is that, again, we're not politicians, cannot change everything overnight. But if you have 100 CEOs, even if only 70 make it to the CEO post, in a country of 1.7 million people, and if people really have the integrity, the high-minded, it's not dictatorial, it's just, you can think about an old way of managing people relative to, quote unquote, hopefully a much more modern way of managing. Can you imagine the impact that those individuals have on their companies, on their employees, on the communities? So anyway, that's a program which I'm financially supporting. We have all sort of other examples. Again, but this is just one program out of 50, which we're doing. And again, none of this is for personal benefit. As you said, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Wonderful. As I'm hearing you, I'm learning also new things. I didn't know there were so many programs. I have been a part of Macedonia 2025 several years in a row, and seems like there's a lot going on, but this is truly an eye-opener for me as well, and I'm excited about what the future will come. What the future will look like.
Again, I'm just looking at board meeting. It's 4 pages. 5 programs, 3 programs, 5 and 4, and this is just the education program.
Amazing.
Anyway, we just had the top CEOs from Alkaloid, Triglav Insurance, and Tikvash just joined the boards. Again, we try to get CEOs with great level of a reputation, for business acumen, but also integrity to be part of the organization, again, with a view not to benefit their companies per se, not directly anyway, to really help the country move forward.
Wonderful. All right, I think we have, and you said that I wanted you to say that key sentence, and you already did it. You know, the impact on culture can only happen if you, together with all these influential people, together, if you pour your heart into your country rather than you know, going into it to have some personal gain. That's not going to happen if you have those motivations. So I think this is a good good bridge for our next question, which falls under the spiritual topic. We already talked about your personal, professional, but in your bio, I noticed something interesting, and it's very recent, that you were a part of an unusual program in the United States called Halftime Institute. Now, who invited you there? What happened? What did you learn there?
Yeah, I mean, this truly has been transformational, and I know when I look back 20 years from now, I'll be even I'll feel exactly the same way. But Halftime is a book written by Bob Buford. He wrote it back in the mid-1990s. So I really suggest all of you to read it. He had worked closely with Peter Drucker, one of the most famous management consultants and gurus of all time. So the book is called Halftime. I read it in the mid-1990s along with a mentee, 20 years younger than me. And fabulous comments on health, family, careers. But frankly, I glossed over or totally missed the faith element in the book. So again, this is with full disclosure. So again, my faith journey has been moving slowly from, atheist in Yugoslavia to going to church with my wife, started going to Bible studies. Since 2015, and the same mentee, his name is Joel Hackney, says, Mike, I'm going through the Halftime Institute. Remember, we read this book Halftime years ago, but now they've thought a book, it's not sufficient enough to propel you to make life-changing actions. So we had a little discussions. I mean, I'll simply summarize what the halftime concept is. A simple question. I can look at, for example, Blagica, that's my sister's name. I look at Blagica from Skopje. They say, Blagica, what's your dream outcome? Dream life outcome, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And if you keep doing what you're doing, are you going to get there? Really, it's a very simple comment. And if the answer is no, what are you going to do about it? So with the Halftime Institute, actually, they call it a university for the second half of your life. You go with 15 cohorts, you meet 5 times a year, 2 or 3 days. So you go through a deep discussion of what's your purpose? What's your mission statement? What do you think your spouse's mission statement is? What are the family values? They don't try to program you one way or the other, but then they ask you to prioritize activities which you say are important to you. So there was a game changer. Again, this is my halftime roadmap. I update it every couple of years, but the mission statement, for example, is to build impactful, values-based businesses and leaders serving God's kingdom. So that's a personal mission statement.
Wonderful.
Perfect life matrix is knowledgeable, practicing, joyful Christian. And any one of those, knowledgeable, it's a tall bar. Are you truly a knowledgeable Christian? Are you a practicing Christian? That's a pretty tall bar in itself. And also joyful, my goodness, all 3 of them. So that's a pretty stretched target. But anyway, I have all sorts of things in. I've had many business visions. I have no problem going to a place I know nothing about. Within a couple of weeks to organize a mission and action plan. But it is very challenging to do that with your family. We've been together, my habits. So we had a session, I think, in Thanksgiving 2016. They said, look, I'm going through this process. Maybe it's delayed midlife crisis. You could call it whatever you want to. But really, and I want to put family at the front of this. So we like 3-4 hour session discussing what do we think is the family, should the family vision be? What are the behaviors with the family? And two of the boys are doing emails. I'm ready to explode. Says no, would not be a good thing. This is weekend, this is Thanksgiving. So when we're done, our son, 6'9", was a 2 meters and a couple of basketball player, says, Dad, based on the last 4 hours of discussion, I think our family vision really is to fulfill God-given potential and share good fortune with others. It almost felt a bit like, half an hour ago, I was ready to start screaming. How come you're not paying attention? And he's writing things down, what he heard. He said, if the outcome is supposed to be a family vision, we think this could be it. So anyway,
Amazing.
I went from 7 for-profit boards down to 0. There was one of the actions, if you will, as opposed to working for others and always having an excuse. I would run my company a different way, but my board is making me do certain things, or my private equity people want to exit the company, so we have to cut corners to optimize the profits. If I think there's a better way to do those top 6, as opposed to being idly rich on the sidelines complaining, things should be done different ways. To say, well, why don't you try to do it yourself? So there really was the genesis to start a family business. And the goal is simply to buy well-run family businesses lacking a succession plan. And hopefully we acquire, keep the good parts of the culture and apply what we have learned. And hopefully 100 years from now, whoever makes it upstairs in heaven can look down and to say, and hopefully those businesses are still there based on the values they have. So anyway, long answer to that question, but
No, perfect.
For me.
Perfect. I actually wanted you to get into the specifics because, like you said, if we just have some knowledge and we're learning all these things about the Bible or about faith and that's it, there's nothing in practice, then that's not a life faith, and it's not complete. But I'm gonna ask the last question, and I will, as you're answering, invite the audience to start writing some more questions in the chat. And this is a good time to wrap up this part with Mike before we move into the small groups. My last question is on the topic, because we're talking about impacting culture. What would you say is the key ingredient, key leadership principle that you've learned? You have so much experience, and I can give you a hint. Of course, naturally, most of the people in our countries would say, yeah, you have to have connections. Mora da imaš vrski. You have to have connections to move ahead, to do good in life, and then to be able to make an impact. But is that it? What would you say is the key ingredient?
I mean, you have to have a belief and a passion to really want to make a difference. I said, ever since a young boy, I'm not sure why, but I've always thought about those things. So that was one of them. To know people, I mean, it's always helpful, but networking is very important. I mean, it starts early on. And I mean, it's good to remember. I mean, I always ask people, we complain about corruption as well. Are you the person you want your boss to be? Are you the person that you want your politicians to be? Now, many people have said, be the change you want others to be. And you cannot control others, you can control yourself. And if you keep thinking, what's God's purpose for you on this world, you have a complete control over yourself. Your actions, what you want to do, how you want to do it. The Bible is a pretty good place to look for insights. You get to choose your friends. You get to choose your activities. And the glass is never, I mean, I always count the full parts, even Ukraine. I'm just so horrified what's happening there, and I keep praying for the outcomes. But the bravery, and I don't mean just to take an extreme example, but just a deep reflection. And the world wants you to do certain things, whether that's power, control, money, sex. I mean, you have all these idols, if you will. And how do you balance those, which you really think your purpose in life is? And I don't mean to sound overly religious, if you will. If you read Mere Christianity, I mean, C.S. Lewis is the best. I mean, there's a burning desire inside you that tells you if you're doing what you should be doing, or if you're cutting corners, including on yourself. So, yeah, this again took me a year to prepare the life matrix. So really, I encourage you. And I told you, unknown, the business practices. The challenge when I speak with young people obviously just the mere fact that you're in this program. I mean, that's amazing. So you want to get better as a leader, you want to get better personally, professionally, spiritually. Think deeply what you're trying to do and be around people that can help you get better. When I'm in Chicago, I never miss a Bible studies, Thursday morning at 6:15. Never.
Wonderful.
Once a month now, since 2009, I host a faith at, and a few of us host a faith at work. I encourage you to take a look at it. We've had 120 speakers. And we do very similar. We ask people, tell us about your upbringing, tell us about your faith journey, and how do you bring faith to work? So at least once a month, I get inspired from a CEOs to a former prisoner to homemakers to teachers to not-for-profit leaders. I just joined an organization called CEO Forum. You can look it up. It's 180 CEOs, including the CEO of Intel, the biggest company, that made commitments to run their businesses based on biblical principles.
Wonderful.
So me having a session with him is probably very different than speaking with a drug lord. I mean, I'm just using some very practical examples of how even in this world to give yourself the best chance to be the best you can be. And if that happens, then all of a sudden you say, well, how can I be the best I can be for my family? How can I be the best I can be for my friends, my community, et cetera, et cetera.
And so on.
Yep.
Wonderful. Yeah, you're speaking our language, and this is the key for us to be receiving the message that we need actually. And you've used that key phrase, don't cut corners, which is something that I was brought up with, and most of our audience have been brought up with, to find ways to just cheat and lie and to not do everything that needs to be done just so you can get ahead and all these things.
Yeah,
but
absolutely tragic. Yep.
Tragic, yeah. But you've given a different example, and another point that you're making here is that it's never too late. You know, you're talking about maybe you were around 50 years old or something, the halftime. You know,
No, I was 64.
like,
I was 64.
Whoa, even better, even better. Perfect. So we have a question from Ilir from Albania. Thanks for asking it, Ilir. And this is, I guess, several questions and a comment. Actually, how about I invite Ilir to ask you and read this question. Please open up your mic and your camera, Ilir, and go ahead and read it.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, somebody said we came out of communism, but communism did not come out of us. Unfortunately, we still in Eastern Europe are disappointed by our leaders leading with a strong hand, like little dictators. And my question is, how can we change this mentality? I'm kind of getting tired of this. And how should we respond to such leaders? Should we stand up to such leaders, or what should we do? What should our response be to such leadership style? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a tough question. It's unfortunately leadership. It's in a pretty short supply all over the world. I'm not sure how much it's social media. I'm not sure how much it's the schools. I mean, there's a blue versus red in the United States. So number one, it's a global challenge. So just to acknowledge. Number two, and we're becoming bolder in Estonia 2025, and that's what not politically aligned. To say it's not whether the country is moving left or right, but it's the country is moving up or down. And just to be able to have, we have a matrix within dashboard within Estonia 2025 to be discussing the level of moving prosperity for the country, both the indicators, economic indicators, but also educational level, pollution levels, and things of that nature. So increased boldness is required. And I, for one, believe that actually the next generation is becoming much more attuned to values and integrity and higher expectations from themselves as well as from the politicians. But this is a real big challenge. I have just joined, if you will, just to show you a small thing. Again, happy to compare notes. I am a member of the American Enterprise Institute, which is probably the most well-funded and influential think tank in the world. They really are for integrity, limited government, free enterprise, but also providing programs that really make it opportunities for the socially and economically disadvantaged. And there's a major study underway how to reinvent America. I'm going to a session a couple of weeks from now. The person that's running, the president, his name is Robert Doar. He replaced Arthur Brooks. He's coming to Macedonia. I actually asked him to be a keynote speaker. So he'll be in Macedonia on April 27th and 28th. And actually, we will propose to the Chamber of Commerce and to the Prime Minister and to the opposition to really take a swing at a platform that's not going to be as politically aligned, but just put the country first. So again, I'm not holding my breath, Ilya, but that's one of those things to keep looking what may be working in some place. And Robert Doar, for your information, you can look him up. He used to run the poverty programs for Mike Bloomberg in New York City. So Mike Bloomberg is a Democrat, and typically the Democrats usually have a reputation just simply give money away. And Robert Doar, working for Mike Bloomberg, did a fabulous job helping the people at the bottom, economically, training, and things of that nature. And that's why I have such a high confidence that what he'd be proposing for America is going to fall on good ears for Democrats and Republicans. Again, I was very happy that he took my invitation to come to Skopje. I mean, I'll give you another example. Special Olympics, there's 300 million people intellectually disabled. I mean, there's such a poor treatment of those individuals. I called President Estevo, the president of Macedonia. This says, look, we're going to have this event coming up in Berlin in June. I mean, yeah, in June. I mean, I think this is Macedonia is way behind providing the basic rights for people that are disabled and intellectually or physically. So again, you're using that opportunity. You can call it network. I'm not doing it for personal reasons. I'm doing it, which I think is the right thing for Macedonia and for them to be viewed much more favorably with the EU and the citizens and everybody else. So anyway, long answer to your question. It's complicated, but I mean, I'll reverse it. What are you doing to be able to either nominate yourself, or if there's someone out there that you think would be a great person to be running Albania to again to change the trajectory of our countries?
Wonderful. Yeah, you have so much more to give us. In each answer, you give so many examples. It's really amazing, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for theory that is put into practice. So, or an idea, or a vision that is implemented. And I cannot stress this more to our audience and to everyone that is involved in Leader Impact, to not just get informed and be a part of the groups or come to our webinars or big events that we have in our countries, but to really, like you said, Mike, take courage. It needs not to fight. I know Elir wanted that specific aspect of being courageous, is to fight against this, but rather give a different example. Be someone that when people notice something different about you, they say, "Oh, that's a positive change." And that's where our other slogan is: positive impact starts in Leader Impact, or positive change, transformation starts in Leader Impact. So we actually don't have any more time to continue at 6:03. We wanted to start the groups at 6 o'clock so that we can have some time to discuss. But I invite you to stay if you can, Mike, and join one of the groups, and maybe some of the questions that were not answered, you can answer them there. But if you need to go,
I will take a rain check. Actually, this is the first. I need to go home. This is actually the first time I'm away from home. I just need to go put ice on my leg, which is swelling. As some of you know, I had a skiing accident 2 weeks ago. That's why we had to cancel. Say that, like a rupture of my anyway. But that's so. Anyway, I'm not going to show you my leg, but this is a. Not sure if you can tell, I'm fighting some pain, but I really enjoy this, and I'd say perseverance and don't give up. It's so easy to give up. So the comment I would leave for you, it is that whether you're running, 1 kilometer, a marathon equivalent in your business career, in your faith journey, just keep betting yourself and keep coming back to groups like this to keep getting back grounded to what you think your purpose is on the face of this earth.
Wonderful. It was so good to have you. Round of applause. Just without the mic. And we already have some comments. Thanks for the example of being a leader of impact, Mike. And yeah, we will see you hopefully maybe in Macedonia when you come, and maybe even virtually again in near future. Send you off with love. Поздравуваме со многу љубов и се небо. Ciao. We will continue with discussions, but now we're going to move into small groups, which we call Leader Impact groups, or Taste of a Leader Impact group. And I am going to send you the discussion questions that we have. It's just kind of a direction of where you want to go in the small group, and you don't have to use them if you don't want to. You can discuss anything you want. You can introduce yourself, give some background. I saw there were some personal questions in the chat. You can share those as well. The idea is after we do the Taste of Leader Impact group, if you are not a part of a group in your own country, in the city where you live, you need to find the city representative or the city team leader and get plugged in. This is a great opportunity for you to experience those 3 values: the uncommon opportunities, the real relationships, and the transformation or the life change that happens in those groups. So our host, thank you, Avni, for being our host, can send us into small groups. Have fun, and that will conclude this webinar. When you're done discussing, just click leave on the Zoom, and we'll see you next time.